The night the Titanic sank, not every hero wore a uniform. Some wore aprons. Charles Joughin was the chief baker aboard the RMS Titanic. As the luxury liner sailed smoothly through the icy Atlantic on April 14, 1912, Charles was finishing his duties in the ship's bakery. The air was still, the ship majestic. No one aboard could have imagined the horror that was about to unfold. While passengers danced and dined, Charles prepared bread for the next day, never knowing this would be a night the world would never forget. Suddenly, a violent jolt shattered the peace. The Titanic had struck an iceberg. Panic rippled through the decks, but Charles didn't freeze. He moved, fast. He woke his staff, helped load lifeboats, and even threw deck chairs into the sea to act as makeshift rafts. In the chaos, while many scrambled in fear, one baker kept his head and helped others keep theirs. The ship began to list. Panic erupted. Screams pierced the cold Atlantic night as passengers scrambled for lifeboats. But Charles didn't panic. Instead of fleeing, he sprang into action. He filled the lifeboats with bread, food for those who might survive the freezing night. Then, he helped women and children board, urging calm through the chaos. As others ran from death, Charles ran toward duty. He refused a lifeboat for himself. He stayed behind, helping, working, giving. A baker, acting like a hero. In the rising cold and darkness, he returned to his quarters. And what did he do? He took a stiff drink, one last moment of courage, before the plunge. The Atlantic was unforgiving, frigid, black, endless. Hundreds plunged into that frozen hell, and most perished within minutes. But Charles? He floated, alive. No panic, no thrashing. He drifted in the ice-cold water for over 2 hours, with nothing but sheer will, and perhaps the alcohol keeping his blood warm. Rescue boats passed by. Cries filled the night. Silence followed. Yet somehow, Charles endured. Finally, as dawn began to bleed into the sky, a lifeboat spotted him, barely conscious, but alive. His hair frozen, lips blue. Yet he had survived what nearly everyone else hadn't. Doctors would later marvel. They said the alcohol in his system may have helped slow the effects of hypothermia, but even science struggled to explain it. Charles Joughin had done the impossible. He didn't just survive the Titanic, he defied death. When he was finally rescued, Charles Joughin was exhausted, frostbitten, but alive. He was one of the last to leave the wreckage. And though he was a hero that night, no one ever truly understood the depth of his courage. The world remembers the Titanic disaster as one of the most tragic in history. But for Charles, it was a testament to human resilience, to quiet bravery in the face of certain death. In the years that followed, Charles would live a life away from the spotlight, back to his humble bakery. No medals, no fame, just the quiet knowledge that he'd done something that no one could ever truly explain. But every time the Titanic story is told, Charles Joughin's name will be remembered. Not as a man who wore a uniform, but as a man who wore an apron and survived when others did not. He later served on other ships during World War I and eventually settled in the United States, where he lived out his days in peace. Charles passed away in 1956 at the age of 78, a man who faced death, defied the odds, and went back to kneading dough like nothing had happened. He may not have worn a medal, but he wore something far greater, the quiet courage of a true hero. The moral of the story: even in the darkest night, courage can rise from the most unexpected places. In the face of disaster, true character reveals itself. Charles Joughin wasn't a soldier or a captain, he was a baker. Yet in that frozen night, he showed the world that courage doesn't wear a title. Even the smallest acts of bravery can leave the biggest legacy. Sometimes, the quietest hands become the strongest heroes. Thank you for watching. If this video didn't waste your valuable time or added any value to your life, even just a little, please consider subscribing to Hello Stories. Until next time. Goodbye, warriors.